Imagine you're scanning the horizon on a moonlit Mediterranean night in October 1940, and suddenly you spot not one, not two, but 7 enemy warships converging on your position. You're alone. Your backup is miles away, and in the next 2 hours, you'll either become a legend or end up at the bottom of the sea. This is UNF fiction. This is exactly what happened to HMS Ajax and her crew in one of the most intense naval engagements you've probably never heard about. The Battle of Cape Acero was about to turn the Mediterranean into a graveyard, and the odds, well, they weren't exactly in Britain's favor. Let me set the stage for you, because understanding what led to this chaos is absolutely crucial. It's the summer of 1940, and the Mediterranean has become a proper war zone. The British are bombing Tobruk, that's in Libya, pretty much daily, though with limited success, if we're being honest. But their torpedo planes? Completely different story. These aircraft are absolutely devastating, sinking merchant vessels left and right. In Julia alone, they wiped out an entire Italian destroyer squadron at Tobruk. An entire squadron. Gone. Just like that. The Italians, understandably rattled, had to completely rethink their strategy. They started permanently stationing naval assets in the region to protect the constant stream of supply convoys heading to Libya. By August, they deployed their pride and joined the battleships Littorio and Vittorio Veneto. Now, these weren't just any battleships. These were cutting-edge, technologically advanced monsters that represented the pinnacle of Italian naval engineering. At the time, many experts considered them among the finest battleships in the entire world, not just for their firepower but for solving countless engineering challenges that other navies were still struggling with. Meanwhile, the British were pouring Air Force reinforcements into the Mediterranean, intensifying their bombing campaigns. The Italians scrambled to fortify their Libyan ports against these relentless air attacks. And right in the middle of all this, Malta, that tiny island, fortress, needed constant resupply from British convoys sailing from Alexandria. The entire Mediterranean had become this incredibly tense chessboard where one wrong move could cost you everything. Then, on October 11th, something unexpected happened. Intelligence reports suggested British battleships and aircraft carriers were spotted near Malta. Supermarina, that's the Italian Naval High Commando, skeptical but couldn't ignore the possibility. They quickly assembled a night patrol under Captain Carlo Margottini to investigate. This wasn't a massive fleet, mind you. We're talking about 4 Soldati-class destroyers and 3 Spiky-class torpedo boats. 7 ships total, heading out to verify whether the Royal Navy was actually lurking in Italian waters. Let's talk about these ships for a moment, because understanding what they were capable of matters. The Soldati-class destroyers were proper warships about 2,500 tons, armed with 120mm guns, anti-aircraft weapons, and torpedoes, and they could hit 38 knots. Quick and deadly. The Spica-class torpedo boats were smaller and lighter at around 680 tons, but what they lacked in size, they made up for in stealth and speed, reaching 34 knots, whilst bristling with torpedoes and anti-submarine gear. On the British side, HMS Ajax was making her way back from escorting a Malta convoy. She'd set sail at 10:30 in the evening, and she was essentially alone. The main Mediterranean fleet was positioned south of the island, and the 7th Cruiser Squadron was spread out in a scouting line to the northeast. Ajax herself was no lightweight. At 7,270 tons, standard displacement 9,740 fully loaded, she packed 8 6-inch guns, 4 4-inch guns, a dozen Vickers machine guns, and 8 torpedo tubes. But here's what made Ajax special. This wasn't just another cruiser. Just months earlier, she'd achieved fame at the Battle of the River Plate, where she and 2 other British cruisers hunted down the German pocket battleship Admiral Grafspee off South America. That relentless pursuit forced the Grafspee to seek refuge in Montevideo Harbor, where her own crew eventually scuttled her rather than face another battle. It was the first major naval victory for the Allies in the Atlantic, and Ajax's crew had earned a reputation for being absolutely fearless. Now, picture the scene. It's 1:30 in the morning on a moonlit October night. The torpedo boat Alsoni spots Ajax about 12 miles away on her port bow. She immediately requests assistance and alters course toward the enemy. 10 minutes later, 2 more torpedo boats Saron and Ariel detect the cruiser, and their commander orders a coordinated torpedo attack. Here's where things get properly mental. Hus before 2 a.m. Ajax's lookouts spot two unidentified ships Aaron off the port bow and Ariel to starboard. But they haven't spotted Alcyone yet, and she's closing fast. At about 2,000 meters, Alcyone launches two torpedoes aimed right at Ajax's port side. Simultaneously, Aaron and Ariel fire their own torpedoes from different angles. 5 torpedoes are now racing through the dark water toward the British cruiser. Ajax's captain reacts instantly, ordering full speed and a hard turn. The Italian torpedo crews had miscalculated the cruiser's speed and heading understandably, given the darkness and stress, and all 5 torpedoes miss. But Aaron isn't finished. She closes to just 1,000 yards and launches another torpedo whilst opening up with her guns. She scores at least 7 direct hits on Ajax. The British cruiser doesn't return fire. Immediately, her crew are probably trying to work out exactly what they were dealing with in the confusion. But when Ajax finally unleashes her main guns, it's devastating. She targets Ariel with her 6-inch weapons and Aaron with her 4-inch guns. Aaron keeps pressing the attack, but Ajax maneuvers to bring previously unused guns to bear. As Ajax adjusts to a parallel heading behind Aaron, the Italian torpedo boat's fate is sealed. Commander Banfi, captain of Aaron, orders a smokescreen to try and disengage. Too late, Ajax's broadside slams into Aaron at close range, causing catastrophic damage and igniting massive fires. Then Ajax does something almost excessive. She opens up with machine guns at point-blank range on the drifting, burning ship and fires 2 torpedoes at her. The torpedoes miss, but it doesn't matter. Aaron is already engulfed in flames, her crew abandoning ship. Ariel's fate is even quicker. Ajax's guns find their mark at short range, leaving the destroyer dead in the water. She sinks rapidly, taking her captain and senior officers down with her. All of this, the torpedo attacks, the gun battles, 2 Italian ships destroyed, happens in just a few minutes. Alcyone is still sailing toward the action when Ajax steams away and Ariel slips beneath the waves. But the chaos is far from over. To the south, the destroyer Ovier spots Ajax about 15 minutes later and closes from 8,000 yards, whilst firing salvos and attempting to launch torpedoes. The problem: the low-hanging moon is directly behind the Italian destroyer, perfectly silhouetting her for Ajax's gunners. It's like having a spotlight shining on you during a gunfight. A 6-inch shell smashes into Ovier's forward mount. Another penetrates the hull, causing serious flooding. Within 5 minutes, Ovier is staggering to starboard, battered and burning. She withdraws from the battle whilst another destroyer, Genier, fires a few ineffective salvos before escorting the damaged ship back to harbor. Meanwhile, Alcyone returns to the scene of devastation to find Aaron sinking and Ariel already gone. The waters are filled with burning oil and Italian sailors desperately trying to stay afloat in the darkness. Alcyone deploys her rescue boats and manages to pull 125 men from Ariel and Aaron out of the water. Commander Banfi, in a moment of tragic heroism, decides to go down with his ship rather than abandon the men who couldn't be rescued. Aaron slips beneath the surface at 3:30 in the morning. Incredibly, Banfi would later resurface trapped in an air bubble and be rescued against his own wishes. But Ajax isn't done yet. At 2 a.m., the destroyer Artigliere, commanded by Captain Margotini himself, had altered course northward at top speed. 30 minutes later, geysers of water suddenly erupt around her. Ajax, concealed in the moon's glare just a few thousand yards away, has opened fire. Artigliere retaliates with a torpedo launch, but a 6-inch salvo devastates her bridge, mortally wounding Margotini. Another shell ignites her forward ammunition, creating a massive fire. Ajax's hits kill virtually every officer aboard except the chief engineer. As Ajax steams past, Artigliere's gunners manage to land 4 shells on the British cruiser, damaging her compass bridge, disabling a 4-inch gun mount, and knocking out her radar. but 3 more rounds strike Artigliere's forward engine room, and a 4th pierces her central boiler. She's left abandoned, adrift, ablaze, and dying as Ajax turns away at 2:45. Just as Ajax turns, the destroyer Camicia Nera, the southernmost ship in the Italian squadron, spots the cruiser, about 5,000 yards to the northwest. The moon is near the western horizon now, providing perfect illumination for the Italian gunners. Camicia Nera opens fire. Both ships exchange salvos, though neither scores decisive hits. Here's an interesting detail. Ajax lacks flashless gunpowder, so every time our guns fire, the massive muzzle flashes completely ruin her crew's night vision. From Ajax's perspective, Camicia Nera looks like a cruiser, not a destroyer. When the Italian ship vanishes into what appears to be a smokescreen, Ajax seizes the opportunity to alter course southwest, attempting to rendezvous with the rest of the 7th Cruiser Squadron. Camicia Nera pursues westward, crossing Ajax's wake, but failing to re-establish contact. The British cruiser has escaped into the darkness. Back at Artigliere, her damage control teams have performed miracles. They've extinguished the fires and gotten 1 boiler operational again. But an hour later, they run out of boiler feed water and she stops dead once more. At 5 a.m., Camicia Nera returns to take the crippled destroyer under tow, but their position has been reported by a British flying boat. The rescue effort takes hours, precious hours that give the British time to respond. At 8:45 in the morning, 3 British cruisers York, Gloucester, and Liverpool appear. On the horizon, Camicia Nera has no choice but to abandon the tow and flee. British aircraft bomb the helpless Artigliere whilst York closes in and fires a torpedo, finally sending her to the bottom engulfed in flames after multiple attempts with 8-inch gunfire. When the sun rose that morning, the scoreboard was brutal. The Italians had lost 2 torpedo boats and 1 destroyer outright, with another destroyer severely damaged. 325 Italian sailors were dead. Ajax had taken them as 13 killed and 22 wounded, but she was still afloat, still operational, still dangerous. So what went wrong for the Italians? After the war, Italian sources claimed Ajax's radar gave her an unfair advantage. Older accounts suggested the British cruiser used radar to dominate the night battle. But here's the truth. Ajax's radar reportedly played no role whatsoever in the engagement. The Italians would unlearn that the British could effectively use radar in combat until the Battle of Cape Matape in March 1941. The real problem was tactical. The Italian squadron had superior torpedo capacity and outnumbered Ajax 7-1. But instead of coordinating their attacks, they presented themselves individually, perfectly silhouetted by moonlight, 2 Ajax's guns at close range. It was a devastating lesson in the importance of coordination and tactical awareness during night engagements. Supermarina concluded they were technically inferior to the British, particularly at night fighting, which wasn't entirely accurate, but shaped Italian naval doctrine for the rest of the Mediterranean campaign. The reality was simpler and more painful. Ajax's crew were better trained, more experienced, and more aggressive. They'd fought the Graf Spee and won. They weren't about to be intimidated by torpedo boats in the dark. Think about the audacity of Ajax's captain for a moment. Outnumbered 7-1, operating alone, no backup available for hours.